So imagine you're an American CEO, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You just wrapped up this incredibly tense, completely exhausting negotiation in a sleek London boardroom.
Right, the stakes are high.
Exactly. The room is deadlocked, the coffee is freezing cold, and you realize you just aren't making any progress today.
We've all been in that kind of meeting.
Yeah, so you throw up your hands, you look across the table, and you declare that you want to, quote, table the motion.
Oh, no.
You confidently pack up your laptop, you're ready to leave, but suddenly your British counterparts lunge forward.
Right, they uncap their pens.
Yes. Adrenaline spiking, they are ready for a fight. And you're sitting there thinking, I haven't declared war, I haven't, insulted their families.
But you kind of have, in a linguistic sense.
Right. You have just fallen headfirst into what we are calling the communication uncanny valley.
It's such a perfect term for it, honestly. Because the vocabulary in that room matches perfectly, right?
Correct.
But the underlying cultural source code has just entirely flipped.
Yeah, you're speaking English, they are speaking English, but you are operating on diametrically opposed planes of intent.
It is a fascinating and honestly treacherous place to find yourself.
And that's our mission for today. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are exploring a linguistic phenomenon that is completely invisible until you trip over it.
And you will trip over it.
Oh, absolutely. So, you know the uncanny valley in robotics, right? That biological alarm bell that goes off in your head when a machine looks almost human. But the micro expressions are they're just slightly wrong.
Right. Your brain doesn't see a cute robot, it sees a threat.
Exactly. And what we are exploring today is the linguistic equivalent of that exact phenomenon. You step off a plane in a country that supposedly speaks your native language.
The street signs are readable.
The grammar is identical, and yet the social landscape is just laced with these invisible tripwires.
And we should clarify, we are bypassing the superficial differences today.
Right, yeah.
We aren't looking at whether you spell color with a U or whether you call the elevator a lift.
Those are like known unknowns. You can just look those up in a guidebook.
Exactly. We are digging into these systemic structural failures. The boardroom disasters, the massive cultural misreads, and the deeply ingrained psychological differences between British and American English.
The stuff that can quite literally get you fired or ostracized.
Yeah, the real high-stakes vocabulary.
So whether you are managing an international team, maybe you're traveling across the Atlantic, or you're just fascinated by the invisible architecture of human connection, this deep dive is basically your survival guide.
Your manual for not getting alienated by people who supposedly speak your exact language.
Right. And to understand how quickly things can derail, I think we have to examine the absolute first millisecond of human contact.
The greeting.
Yes. The moment you make eye contact and open your mouth. The greeting paradox.
It's so funny because it seems so simple. Picture an American walking into a London office for the very first time.
Okay.
You approach a British colleague, the colleague looks up and simply asks, "You all right?"
And the visceral reaction and American experiences in that specific fraction of a second is just pure, unadulterated panic.
Total panic.
Because in American culture, asking someone if they are all right is a diagnostic question.
Yes, it implies visible, undeniable evidence of a deviation from the norm.
My immediate internal monologue the first time I heard this was just a frantic physical audit. I'm standing there thinking, wait, do I look sick?
Am I visibly sweating?
Is there coffee spilled down my shirt? Is my makeup smudged? You instantly assume you have broadcasted some sort of severe distress.
But the British speaker isn't running a diagnostic on your health.
Right.
They aren't looking at your emotional state at all. They're engaging in what the anthropologist Bronislaw Malinowski termed phatic communion.
Phatic communion. I love that concept.
That's brilliant. Malinowski coined this in the 1920s while studying indigenous populations. And he realized that a massive percentage of human speech is not designed to convey literal information.
It has nothing to do with data transfer.
Exactly. It evolved purely as a form of social binding.
It's basically the linguistic evolution of primate grooming.
That is exactly what it is.
Like, we don't pick bugs out of each other's hair anymore to prove we are part of the same tribe. So we use these empty words to sort of stroke the social fabric.
It's a perfect way to visualize it. The words themselves are just hollow vessels. The meaning lies entirely in the social function of the exchange.
It's like a network ping in computing, right?
Yes. The British colleague is just sending a tiny social data packet to check if the server's online.
They're establishing presence. Just saying, I see you, you see me, the channel is open, are we good?
Right, which makes the typical American response an absolute catastrophe.
Oh, it's so bad. Because the Brit sends this tiny, 1 kilobyte network ping, and the American, thinking they're being asked a literal question about their physical and mental state, tries to upload a 5 gigabyte medical file.
Yes. They start talking about their lower back pain from the flight,
The terrible sleep they got because of the hotel air conditioning.
their generalized anxiety about the upcoming presentation.
And the British colleague is just standing there horrified by that data dump.
Well, from their cultural perspective, you have aggressively violated the social contract.
Right. They offered a handshake and you handed them your psychiatric evaluation.
Precisely. Phatic communication relies entirely on a closed loop. The only sociologically correct answer to you, all right, in British English, is to bounce the ping back.
Just close the loop.
Yeah, just say, yeah, good, you. Or even just repeating the phrase back as an acknowledgement. All right.
So rule number 1 for our listeners, do not send the 5 gigabyte file.
Keep it to a ping.
If you are in the UK, you simply reflect the signal. But, that invisible ping of the greeting is just the shallow end of the uncanny valley.
Oh, it's much deeper.
Yeah, the real danger happens when you assume the ping is safe because you recognize the noun being used.
Right. Which brings us to the minefield of false friends.
False friends, these are so treacherous.
You really are. False friends are words that look and sound identical in both dialects but harbor drastically different, often hazardous meanings.
Hazardous is the right word.
Because your brain recognizes the phonetic structure of the word, your defensive shields completely lower.
Right. You think, oh, I know this word.
Exactly. You use the term with absolute confidence, which makes the resulting collision significantly more damaging.
The ultimate classroom tragedy from our source material perfectly illustrates this.
So this story.
It's painful. So an American family relocates to the UK, right? And their 7-year-old child is in their very first week at a British primary school.
Setting the scene for disaster.
The child makes a math error on a worksheet, raises their hand, and politely asks the teacher, "Excuse me, can I have a rubber?"
And you can just imagine the suffocating silence that falls over that room. It is palpable.
Because in the American lexicon, a rubber is an eraser.
Just a harmless school supply.
But in the United Kingdom, rubber is the ubiquitous slang for a condom.
So you have a traumatized American second grader asking their teacher for contraceptives to fix a long division problem.
It's horrifying. The visual of the frozen, horrified teacher and all these giggling British school children, it really highlights the brutality of semantic drift.
Words do not stay anchored to their original intent.
Right.
I mean, the word rubber originally described the physical action of rubbing out graphite marks, which both cultures shared at one point.
But then synthetic materials advanced.
Exactly. The UK shifted the colloquial application of the word to the material used in contraceptives, while the US retained its connection to the school supply.
And it happens constantly with clothing, too. Like another scenario. An American tourist in London sees a man in a sharply tailored suit and cheerfully tells him, "Hey, I really like your pants."
And in 2 seconds, you transition from a friendly traveler to a severe public nuisance.
Right, because the American is complimenting the trousers. But the British man, for whom pants strictly means underwear, is having a minor cardiac event.
He's frantically checking zipper, wondering how the stranger has perceived his undergarments.
It's so embarrassing.
The etymology there is interesting, too. It tracks back to pantaloons, a term for legwear that both cultures originally used.
Okay.
As the word was shortened to pants, America applied it to the outer garment. The UK, meanwhile, restricted pants to the foundational layer, keeping trousers for the outerwear.
So the divergence is subtle historically, but aggressively embarrassing in practice.
Very much so.
But I mean, nothing is more aggressively embarrassing than the absolute granddaddy of all false friends.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
The fanny pack.
There it is.
So in America, fanny is this really mild, almost grandmotherly term for the glutes, the rear end.
It's innocent.
Completely. A fanny pack is just a practical waist pouch. But in the UK, fanny is a highly vulgar slang term, specifically referring to female genitalia.
Highly vulgar. So, shouting across a crowded London pub asking if anyone has seen your fanny pack.
Oh, man.
You are functionally announcing to a room full of strangers that you possess a bag specifically designed to carry your reproductive anatomy.
The collective gasp in the room isn't just surprise, right? It is genuine shock at the perceived obscenity.
Absolutely.
Which raises a really fascinating pattern, I think. Let me ask you this. Why is it that the most explosive, disastrous misunderstandings always seem to revolve around the mundane?
What do you mean?
Well, if I use complex academic terminology, words like photosynthesis, democracy, or macroeconomics, the meaning is identical in New York and London.
Right, yeah.
The uncanny valley doesn't really exist in the laboratory or the university. It exists in the bedroom, the schoolyard, and the pub. Why is that?
That phenomenon is deeply tied to how language evolves and spreads. Formal language, academic nomenclature, and scientific terminology are inherently globalized.
Because they're shared across borders.
Yes, and they are largely derived from Latin or Greek. Historically, they were disseminated through printed text among a highly educated international elite.
Ah, so they're written down and locked in.
Exactly. Those words are locked into place by dictionaries, universities, and international consensus.
They are standardized by the global community.
But daily language, the words we use for our underwear, our minor frustrations, our everyday items, that evolves in geographic isolation.
Because it's spoken, not written.
Precisely. Slang and domestic vocabulary are tribal. They are transmitted orally, not textually.
Right.
We use localized slang specifically to demonstrate in-group belonging and out-group exclusion.
That makes total sense.
And, following the American Revolution, figures like Noah Webster actively campaigned to alter American spelling and vocabulary.
Really? Like, on purpose?
Yes, to deliberately construct an American cultural identity separate from Britain. But even without that deliberate intervention, two populations separated by an ocean for centuries will experience rapid semantic drift in their domestic spheres.
So the language of the university stays synchronized, but the language of the home mutates.
Exactly.
So the deeper you go into intimate daily life, the wider the uncanny valley gets.
Absolutely.
But, while complimenting someone's underwear might cost you your dignity, it rarely ruins your livelihood.
Usually not, no.
So let's pivot from the streets of London to the high-stakes world of international corporate mergers, the boardroom battlefield.
This is where the communication gap starts costing real money. Millions of dollars.
Yeah. In a professional environment, absolute clarity regarding intent, priority, and evaluation is paramount. But as we see in these cross-cultural meetings, that shared understanding is often a complete illusion.
Like we saw with the CEO in our opening scenario, attempting to table emotion.
Yes. Let's actually analyze the mechanics of that failure because it's so perfectly diametrically opposed.
It really is.
The American CEO says, "Let's table this," intending to kill the conversation. Because in American English, the metaphorical table is a shelf.
Right.
It is a place to push things aside, to remove them from active consideration. The topic is dead.
But the British team operates on a parliamentary tradition.
Okay, unpack that for us.
In the UK Parliament, there's a literal physical table situated squarely between the opposing benches.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was a physical thing.
Yes. So to table a motion means to take a piece of legislation and place it physically in the center of the room for immediate, aggressive debate.
So it's the exact opposite.
Literally a 180-degree misunderstanding.
So the American packs up their laptop, projecting arrogance and dismissal to the British team.
And the British team uncaps their pens and leans in, projecting insubordination and combativeness to the American.
Both sides are behaving completely logically according to their own linguistic architecture, yet they just crash into each other.
And this diametric opposition extends directly into how these cultures evaluate performance, too.
Yes, which brings us to the deceptive mitigator, the word quite.
It seems like such harmless filler, doesn't it?
It does, but in a performance review, it functions as a loaded weapon.
It really does.
In American English, quite is a strong intensifier. It amplifies the adjective. If I tell an employee, "Your quarterly report was quite good," I'm delivering glowing praise.
You're giving them an A+.
Yeah, I am signaling that the work was noticeably above average. Excellent job.
However, in British English, quite functions as a mitigator. It diminishes the power of the adjective.
It weakens it.
Yes, it translates roughly to somewhat, fairly, or barely passable.
It is the linguistic equivalent of a non-committal shrug.
Exactly. It is the ultimate expression of damning with faint praise.
So think about the consequence of that. The American manager delivers what they believe is an amazing review, but the British employee hears that their work was barely acceptable, that it was quite good, but certainly not very good.
That employee leaves the office completely demoralized.
They're questioning their competence. They are probably actively looking for new employment.
And the American manager is oblivious to the psychological damage they just inflicted.
It's like driving a car where someone has secretly reversed the pedals, you know.
And that's a great analogy.
You stomp on the gas to accelerate the praise, but the car slams violently in reverse into a wall of mediocrity.
The American applies force in a positive direction, but the local mechanics translate that force into a negative impact.
And this misinterpretation of quite is not just a quirky vocabulary glitch, is it?
No, not at all. It exposes a massive systemic divergence in how these two cultures operate their emotional volume knobs.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge that a bit. Because if the volume knobs are so different, like if the British are always operating at a volume of 3 and Americans are broadcasting at a 10, how does an American survive over there?
It's a valid question.
Do I just have to kill my entire personality, pretend to be stoic, and never show excitement about a project?
You don't kill your personality, no. But you absolutely must recalibrate your transmission frequency.
Recalibrate?
Okay, to understand why, you have to look at the historical forces that shaped these emotional volume knobs in the first place.
Give us the history.
American linguistic hyperbole is deeply rooted in frontier expansionism.
Really? The Wild West?
Yes. The American project required relentless, performative optimism to survive harsh conditions, to attract investors, to sell the dream of the West.
So you had to be loud.
Enthusiasm became a survival tool and a marker of sincerity. When an American says a marketing meeting was awesome or that they're going to crush a project, they are utilizing that inherited hyperbole to show they are engaged and committed.
We crush things. Everything is awesome.
But to a British ear, that hyperbole sounds pathological.
Pathological, wow.
It sounds entirely insincere. Because British culture was heavily influenced by centuries of living in cramped geographic proximity, the rigid nuances of the class system, and the psychological legacy of wartime stoicism.
Keep calm and carry on.
Exactly. So that culture treats emotional restraint as a marker of high status and reliability. You do not use heavy words for light situations.
So awesome implies a state of literal awe.
Yes. Is reserved for the birth of a child or the expanse of the Grand Canyon, not a moderately adequate cup of tea.
So when the American uses awesome for the tea, the Brit assumes the American is either lying, fundamentally unstable, or trying to sell them something.
That's exactly how it lands.
That is wild. And this calibration difference becomes actively dangerous when we look at negative emotions, right? The anger translation matrix.
Yes. Expressing displeasure across this cultural divide requires extreme caution.
Because the American approach to anger is broadcast at maximum volume.
A 10 out of 10.
If an American is angry, they say, "I'm furious. This is unacceptable." You know your exact standing because the threat level is explicitly stated.
You don't have to guess. But the British approach relies on heavy cultural understatement.
Right.
A British manager will look at a catastrophic failure, a complete disaster, and say, "I'm a bit disappointed."
Which is so deceptive because internally that British manager is incandescent with rage.
They are plotting your absolute professional demise.
The cultural code dictates that they mask a 5-alarm fire behind the phrase, "a bit disappointed."
And the danger is that the American hears those words, processes them through their own emotional matrix, and determines the threat level is low.
Right. They assume it is a minor grievance. Oh, they're just a bit disappointed. I'll fix it next week.
They miss the 5-alarm fire entirely because the alarm bell is ringing at a frequency they have not been trained to hear.
They are casually sipping coffee while the building burns down around them.
Literally.
But you know, ignoring a fire is one thing. Accidentally setting yourself on fire is another.
True.
Which brings us to arguably the most dangerous vocabulary trap in the corporate world, the HR danger zone.
Oh, this is a big one.
The word pissed.
This single word is a masterclass in how etymological divergence can destroy a career.
It really is. Because in corporate America, expressing that you are pissed about a lost client or a failed metric is often rewarded.
It signals ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows you care deeply about the results. It is this aggressive go-getter energy. If I tell my American boss, "I'm so pissed we lost that account," they see a passionate employee.
But if you cross the Uncanny Valley into the UK, pissed has absolutely nothing to do with anger.
Nothing at all.
It means heavily, uncontrollably, embarrassingly drunk. Yes. It comes from the older slang of being pissed as in full of liquid, completely inebriated to the point of losing motor function.
So put yourself in a Tuesday morning status meeting in London. It's 9:00 a.m. There was a massive server crash the night before.
And a very stressful morning.
Right. And an American employee wants to demonstrate their dedication and go-getter initiative to their new British boss.
I can see where this is going.
They lean forward, they look their boss dead in the eye and say with total sincerity, "I was so pissed last night."
And the British boss is suddenly trying to comprehend why their new hire is unprompted, bragging about being blackout drunk on a Monday night during a server crisis.
They are mentally dialing human resources.
They are drafting a substance abuse intervention.
It is literal career suicide, born from the innocent belief that you share a language.
It's terrifying when you really think about it.
It is. So, considering the false friends, the diametric opposites like tabling emotion, and the accidental HR violations, how does a professional or a traveler actually survive this?
What is the strategy?
Yeah, what is the survival strategy? Because it feels like a minefield.
Well, the overarching strategy for navigating the uncanny valley is a precise directive. Code switch the software, not the hardware.
Code switch the software, not the hardware. I like that. Break that down for us.
This is the crux of it. Code switching the software means you consciously adapt your vocabulary. You use their nouns, their idioms, their phrasing,
Okay.
but you absolutely do not alter your hardware, meaning you never, ever fake the accent.
Never fake the accent, because it feels deeply cringeworthy, doesn't it?
It's worse than cringeworthy. It's deeply counterproductive, and there's a neurological reason for this.
Oh, really?
Yes. When we listen to speech, our amygdala is constantly scanning for micro-inflections to determine in-group versus out-group status.
Like a biological threat detection?
Exactly. It is an evolutionary defense mechanism. So when an American puts on a fake, posh British accent, they will inevitably fail to hit the precise phones of the local dialect.
You might think you sound like James Bond, but you don't.
You definitely don't. And the British listener's brain immediately detects the counterfeit. It screams, imposter, threat.
So even if your intention is just to blend in and be polite, it registers subconsciously as mockery or deceit.
Yes. It instantly erodes trust. You must maintain your authentic identity, your natural cadence, your natural voice. That is your hardware.
But you load the local software.
Exactly. You load the software to demonstrate emotional intelligence.
So actionable adjustments for the listener.
Right.
You keep your American accent, your normal voice, but you choose their words.
Right.
You look your waiter in the eye and ask for the bill, not the check.
You look for the lift, not the elevator.
You stand in a queue, not a line.
And you praise a project by calling it brilliant rather than quite good.
Brilliant, yes, because that removes the cognitive friction of translation for your host.
But more importantly, it signals profound respect.
Right. It's about efficiency and respect.
By doing the work to speak their code, you're communicating, I recognize I am a guest in your cultural framework, and I respect your rules.
People appreciate the effort of linguistic adaptation far more than they care about your geographic origin.
Always.
It bridges the gap between identity and adaptation. You aren't losing who you are just showing the agility to meet them where they are.
But we should also say, even with all the preparation in the world, language is just too vast, too living, and too messy to perfectly memorize.
Oh, for sure. You are going to make a mistake.
You will.
You are going to fall into the uncanny valley at some point.
And that's okay. Perfection in cross-cultural communication is an impossible metric. Connection is the real goal.
And honestly, the friction is where that connection actually happens.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I just think you shouldn't live in terror of making a mistake. The vulnerability of a linguistic blunder often creates a stronger human bond than a perfectly executed, sterile business presentation.
That's a really good point.
Like, yes, complimenting a stranger's underwear because you lick their pants will cause you to break out in a cold sweat in the moment.
You will want the floor to swallow you whole.
Yes. But once the confusion clears and you both start laughing, you have broken through that professional veneer. You have a shared story.
It's true. A shared laugh over a misunderstood word really humanizes both parties.
It's the stuff you tell at dinner parties for years.
Exactly. It reminds everyone involved that despite the shared vocabulary, you are navigating this complex, beautiful difficulty of reaching across a cultural divide.
So mastering the vocabulary of the uncanny valley isn't enough. You can memorize the dictionary of false friends, but if you don't master the cultural intent behind it, the history, the emotional calibration, You will always just be a tourist.
Because language is the external manifestation of a culture's entire psychological and social history. You cannot separate the words from the people who forge them.
That is perfectly said. Which brings us to the end of our journey today. From the sheer panic of someone asking you all right, to the social minefield of fanny packs, all the way to the corporate sabotage of tabling emotion.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. But I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought to ponder long after we wrap up today.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about this. If living and working in this linguistic uncanny valley forces you to constantly recalculate the emotional weight of words, if you spend years learning to detect the five-alarm fire hiding quietly inside a British colleague's slight disappointment, how does that rewire your brain when you eventually return home?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
Right. Does navigating a foreign communication code fundamentally alter your empathy?
That would have to, wouldn't it?
I think so. By learning to listen to the heavy silence of another culture, do you become hypersensitive to the unsaid, quiet emotions hiding right behind the loud, hyperbolic words of your own native culture?
It's like a reverse culture shock of the mind.
Exactly, a reverse culture shock of the mind. Something to chew on the next time you find yourself wondering if you should order fries, chips, or crisps.
Choose wisely.
Always. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.